Hello Bookish Babes, and welcome to my book nook. If you're new around here, the name's Rainey Barton. I'm an elementary music teacher and middle school musical theater teacher by day. I'm a booktuber by night. I love to chat thriller and horror, sometimes sci-fi and fantasy, sometimes historical romance, sometimes a little bit of historical fiction, and sometimes a little bit of romance. So if you're here for that, make sure to click like, subscribe, and follow. We do weekly videos on Sundays, but the last couple of weeks, has been like daily just because it's end of the year stuff. But in today's video, we are going to be talking all about my end of year 2021 stats. I do know that it's January 2nd when this is going out, but that's just the way it rolls. Yesterday, oh my gosh. January 1st was December wrap up, and then today is my stats, and then tomorrow is going to be my January TBR. So be excited for that. But like I said in this video, we're just going to chat all things stats for 2021. I will say I read 32 books by the end of this. And I don't have copies of all of the books. If you see books that look like this while we're chatting, it's because I wanted to have a stack of like all the books. And so I put books that I didn't actually have physical copies of. I put this little thing on it. Like for example, this is the X Talk because why not, folks? Why not? Okay, so let's chat through Goodreads stats first, and then we'll just start making stacks of different types of things that I'm tracking. So I'm going to pop up a couple of slides of my Goodreads statistics, but according to this, I read this year a total of 9,364 pages, so just shy of 10,000. I read 32 books, like I said. The shortest book I read was 103 pages, which was Comfort Me with Apples. However, that's not actually true, because I read an ebook called Dipped in Holly by Dana Isley, and it was 66 pages, but Goodreads just doesn't want to count that for some reason. And then the longest book I read was 419 pages, and it was A Court of Thorns and Roses, the first book by Sarah J. Maas. The average book length was 302 pages, so right in that sweet spot of between 250 to 400 page books, which I really enjoy. The most popular book that I read this year was Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. I read it really early in the year and absolutely enjoyed it. I cannot wait for the movie that's coming out in July of 2022. And my least popular book was Drawn to You by Ren Montgomery. That's to be expected. My friend self-published it. It's fabulous. I could go on and on about it. You should go read it. And then my average rating this year was 4.1 stars because I had a crap ton of 5-star and 4-star rates this year. In the 32 books that I read, I hardly rated any like 3-star and below. So that was really awesome. I had a great reading year. And then my first book of the year that I read was Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. The last book of the year that I read was For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. I managed to slip it in within the last 2 days, and it was a really great thriller, 4.5 stars. And then my most read genre was thriller, which we're going to break that down a little bit further in just a bit. But that is my Goodreads stats for the beginning. And now we're just going to start organizing by different strategies. Actually, before we do that, I want to share a couple of other stats as well. This is a picture of a bar graph or pie chart of my monthly books read, which like I said, I only really started reading again in November. So you can see that a bunch of months were 0 books read or 1 book read or 2 books read. But then you get to November and it was 12 books and 13 books. I went really crazy in the last 2 months. I'm hoping I can keep that forward momentum for all of 2022 and beyond. And then as far as my best reading month, how I would categorize it is I would say that June was technically my best reading month, even though I only read 2 books, because they were both 5 stars and they were my top 2 books of the year. That was when I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and when I read The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides, and those are 2 of my top favorite books of all time. But then after that, I would say December because I had 5 5-star reads and 6 4-star reads. And November was pretty close behind because I had 5 5-star reads and 4 4-star reads. But yeah, I just had a really great month in general. But I would still say June was the best because I got my top 1 and 2 books of the year. Like, what is the chances that I happen to read those like in a row? And honestly, my worst reading month would be any month that I didn't read a book because that's a pretty bad reading month. As far as how many or what my ratings were for this year, I gave out 14 5 stars, 11 4 stars, 4 3 stars, 2 2 stars, and 1 1 star, which the 1 1 star was Nothing by Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Caw. It was just a hot dumpster fire. And so I'm going to show a little picture now of each one of what I gave each thing. So I don't have a lot of places to store my books, so this is where we're going to go. But this is my 5, I apologize for the lighting in advance. This is my 5-star stack. So we have Finley Donovan is Killing It, Drawn to You, It Ends With Us, The One, Comfort Me with Apples, The Hating Game, Behind Closed Doors, Rock, Paper, Scissors, For Your Own Good. I put 5 stars / 4.5 stars. A Court of Thorns and Roses, Dipped in Holly, The Guest List, Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Then She Was Gone, The Silent Patient, and Where the Crawdads Sing. And then this is my 3 and 4 star stack. So actually, this is my 4-star stack. We have Malibu Rising, The Holiday Swap, In a Holidays, The Final Girl Support Group, The Maidens, The Santa Suit, The Other People, The Secret Lives of Church Ladies, and The Kiss Quotient. Then we have my 3/3.5 star stack, Such a Quiet Place, The X Hex, When the Reckoning Comes, and The X Talk. And then my little 2-star stack, which is My Heart is a Chainsaw and One Day in December. And then my 1-star stack, which is Nothing But Blackened Teeth. And so if you look, it went in the order that it should. The most books that were great and then good are the solid and then good and then and then terrible. So I'm actually really happy with how this came out. As far as new author goes, every single book that I read this year was by an author that I had never read from before. So I think that's pretty amazing. But also we have to remember I was in a reading slump for years. But yeah, all of them were authors I had never read from before. And I think that's pretty cool. Up next, we are going to do year of publications. So we have 2015, 2016, 2018, 2019, 2020, and 2021. So the most books that I read was in 2021, which makes sense. A lot of these books came out this year. And yeah, this is by publication. Next is by genre. So over here we have 1 short story, 1 fantasy, 10 romance. I read a lot of romance this year. And thriller. So I actually tied between thriller and romance. Who would have thought? 2 cozy mystery, I would say. 5 horror, which is interesting because I've never read horror before this. And then 3 historical fiction / contemporary fiction. So romance and thriller definitely took the biggest thing for me, which is funny because I'm not actually a big romance fan, but I did read a bunch of holiday romances. Although some of these I wouldn't constitute where they should go. The Final Girl Support Group is considered a horror, but I don't really know if I agree with that per se. But yeah, so that's by genre. Sorry for the terrible lighting right now, fam, but my ring light is behind me, and so we're just gonna go with it. So let's go over a couple of other stats that I forgot to mention from earlier. As far as readathons and read-alongs, I only participated in 1 readathon this year, and it was the Merry and Bright readathon in December, and I read My Heart is a Chainsaw, The Hating Game, and One Day in December for it, and if you saw that vlog, you know I only liked one of those books. But I do want to read more readathons and do more read-alongs in the future. And then as far as YA versus adult, I read all adult books this year. I did not read a single YA book, which is funny because I have a crap ton of YA books in my house. I have an entire section devoted to that. So I need to get on that. As far as my reading experience goes, I read all but 1 book physically. So 31 of these books were physical. I read 1 ebook, and then I read 16 audiobooks. And you might go, but if you add all that up, that's more than 32, because I consider if I read a physical book and an audiobook together, that the audiobook counts. And I read 16 books with an audiobook accompaniment. There's nothing I like more than actually having the book in my hand. I can't just give that up and listen solely to an audiobook. I will if I can't get the book in possession, but I really discovered that I love audiobooks and I need to do it a lot more because it's really awesome. It lets you read books a lot faster. I wouldn't have gotten the 32 books for the year if I hadn't have started using audiobooks. And so yeah, I really like audiobooks, but I'm just excited to see how many more audiobooks I can read in the upcoming year because I read at least half of the books with an audiobook accompaniment. As far as author, gender, and ethnicity, I kind of feel like I failed in my due diligence on this because out of the 32 books I read, only 4 were written by a male, and the rest were written by female, which is not a big deal. A female author is typically, my person. The people that I read from was Stephen Graham Jones, Alex Michaelides, I believe there was one, and Grady Hendrix. Those were the only ones. Oh, and John Mars. Those were the only males that I read from this year. But as far as ethnicity, I'm not very proud of that. Almost every book was written by a white author. I read one book by a Vietnamese author, and that was The Kiss Quotient by Helen Huang. I read 1 by a Malaysian author, and that was Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Khaw. I read 2 by African-American authors. One was The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Disha Philyaw, which that was a bunch of short stories that I really enjoyed, and When the Reckoning Comes, which is by LaTanya McQueen. And then I read 1 by a Native American author, and that is Stephen Graham Jones. So I definitely need to diversify in 2021. That's definitely something that I am aware of. I also want to read from LGBTQ plus authors and all of the things. So I'm definitely going to be making sure that I add that more into my TBR and I'm more aware of what I am reading. As far as how many Book of the Month reads books go, I've gotten 3 books every day since April, and I've been doing this for 10 months now. So that's 30 books, and I only read I read 9 book of the month reads of mine. So I've read almost a third of the books that I've gotten for book of the month. So I really need to get on top of that. The ones that I read that I got through book of the month: Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, The Silent Patient, Malibu Rising, The Ex Hex, The Maidens, The Kiss Quotient, Rock Paper Scissors, The Holiday Swap, and One Day in December. And that's basically all of my stats for 2021. I apologize for poor lighting and for not having a better aesthetic, but you know what? We're just trying to get this filmed because I'm going to do way better for next year. But I wanted to have this so that next year I could look over what stats I did and then make it bigger and better for the next year. So I hope this was interesting for you. I hope that you enjoyed getting to hear my 2021 stats. I would love to know what some of your stats are down in the comments below. So yeah, after this, tomorrow you will get my January TBR, where I'm introducing my brand new TBR game that I'm super stoked and excited about. And then you'll see a video from me the following Sunday, because we're not going to be doing daily videos anymore because the end of the year is over and it's 2022, baby. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow with my January TBR. Bye!